Alright, what's going on everybody, it's Liam here, and today's video I have a commentary for y'all, and with 160 around the corner and Novice out in a couple of months, I figured it would be time to reflect upon 5th Age PvP, 150 PvP in general, what went wrong, what went good, and stuff like that, and how KingsIsle can hopefully correct some of these mistakes in the next world expansion. So the first thing I want to bring up is healing. Now, I'm not a guy who likes healing personally. I would just rather, have the same Pierce as a Storm and the same Pierce as a Storm on a life and win because the gear audit personally, that's more fun to me. But a lot of the healing players who like to heal in 4th Age don't feel like they can heal as effectively in 5th Age. Now, there is the raid gear, which is honestly pretty freaking good. I have to give credit where it's due. KingsIsle's making better healing gear, which was the right way to go, in my opinion. I think the problem with healing right now is not a lot of people are trying it, and the people that do try it are running like 2 or 3 wards sometimes, so people just think they're jading or sniping at that point. Also, with all the Rochambeaus and the everything, the golems, the conditionals in the game right now, it's really hard to pack a deck that can work well and have all the counters, right? Some players feel like they need to run a full deck, right? Like 6 scales, 6 wall of blades, right? But when your deck is this full, right, you don't really have the room to counter healing, right? You don't have the room to back dooms like I heard players did back in the day, or 3 or 4 infections, because you just don't have the room. Or if you do have the room, like a full deck Timmy, for example here, you're just gonna statistically deck fail more, and that's not good. So, I don't know, I guess my point here is just, I don't know, maybe better deck manipulation, or bigger deck sizes, I guess, would be the best way to go, or just something to control how you pull. I know they implemented Woolcasts with this recent update, which is pretty cool, but I think giving up a whole pet talent is a little bit bizarre in my opinion. Now the next point I want to bring up is, I guess, the lack of school identity when it comes to schools, most notably Fire and Storm. I'm gonna talk about Fire first here because I know everybody knows about my Storm. But Fire, right now, currently, Seasons 1 to 3, Ice, even Death, maybe, Balance maybe, not really Balance, but Ice and Death just have better overtimes than the actual overtime school right now. And that's simply because, right, their cards are just good, Poison's stupid good, Frostbite is stupid good as well, right? But, Mander isn't that good anymore, right? If they didn't go so far with nerfing Mander, it would be a pretty good spell for a Fire Wizard. Fire Dragon and Fire Elf are probably your best friends on a Fire in this current meta, because Fire Elf isn't really worth shifting, it's a lot of utility, and Fire Dragon, it's just a good solid hit on the front end, a good minion killer, and it can cook your opponent, and most of the time, it's not really going to be worth shifting. So, you don't really have a lot of options on a Fire, especially with all the shifts in the game. So, I'd really like to see KingsIsle either nerf, Frostbite and Poison and stuff like that, other overtimes that are not Fire overtimes. You could also buff Fire overtimes like a Mander, or add a new card that's like, 4 to 5 pips, that's a really solid overtime potentially as well. Or you could even go as far as introducing an enchant. So let's say I have these enchants, right? I would enchant my dragon with this epic, and it would actually protect the overtime so it couldn't get shifted, but it could get Rochambeau'd by Storm or Life, any school, Balance even, right? It could get countered by Rochambeau, and that would incentivize more players to pack more of those cards, because right now you don't see a lot of players rocking Rochambeau counter heal damage overtimes, right? Now I guess I'll talk about Storm. I mean, again, this goes for Fire and kind of Myth as well, but not really Myth, because Myth actually has utility, unlike Fire and Storm do right now for the most part. But damage doesn't feel very exclusive anymore, right? You play a Storm or Fire in the mentality like, okay, bro, I'm gonna do damage. Hell yeah, dude. You know? But when you go into PvP and you see your Solka do 2.8 and a Grenadier do 2.6, you start to ask some questions on what is the better school here? What is the actual better damage school, you know? And I think that's a huge problem, because that just shows Storm and Fire having a hard time dealing damage compared to the other schools, right? Now, in Storm's case, you have Owl, which, I mean, a lot of other schools don't have that good of a 10-pip hit like that. So Storm does have that. Or a Jhin, but heal overtimes are so bad. Life Scion sucks for the same reason as Storm Jhin sucks right now, because heal overtimes just suck. They got nerfed, right? So my point is, right, when you have schools like Fire and especially Storm with zero utility and bad stats, right, you're gonna see other schools, like I said, Life here, do about the same damage because of how the stats correlation works right now, but they just have more health, right? I'm doing 200 more damage in an even trade with a Life Wizard, but he has 3,000 more health than me. He can spam Luminous Weaver over and 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 over. Like, it's just crazy. He has like a life fuel pet and everything too. It's so much, right? Why would I play Storm when I can hop on my life, literally do the same damage, have better item cards like a fuel pet, right? I have more damage, more health, more resist, literally the same pierce, like the same crit block stats, and just better everything, literally better conserve everything. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Then like I have Pacify, I have a whole 800 extra health on a 5-pip hit. So let's say a caddy does 2k open, it's 2,800 value on a 5-pip hit. That's just like a 5-pip hit that is literally the same as a Rasulka. It doesn't make any sense, the scaling here. But yeah, the point is, damage schools don't feel like they're damage anymore, right? I can play Life, I can do a Lumi, which is always a good move. It does 1,000 damage per Lumi. I can Shad, which scales up with a Rasulka when I'm a healing school. Why is that scaling on a tank or a healing school? Doesn't really make any sense, right? So yeah, the point here is damage is not exclusive to damage schools right now. Non-damage schools, again, I'm talking about like balance, death maybe, but more like balance, ice, and life, right? Why are they having such an easy time doing damage when, you know, they already have all the benefits of having, you know, a -50 shield, or an absorb, or a pacify, or like a luminous weaver, and 3k more health, right? It's just, there's too much utility, and there's too much damage going on, and the offensive schools have no utility with, like I said, only 200 more damage on an even trade when the Life has 3k more health, so technically, the Life is winning that trade in the long run. Next thing I want to bring up is Resist. Now, at the time you're recording this audio, Resist has been nerfed and rebuffed, and I assume it's probably going to get nerfed at the end, because it's stupid good right now. It's stupid good, bro. But, yeah, basically, right, before, Season 3 came, people just ran 80 Resist, and it always was a good move, right? Players were overreacting when the Resist got nerfed. If you simply traded even hits with your opponent, you would win every single trade, because you have so much more Resist. Resist is so overpowered, right? You could literally trade a double buffed Grim Reader with an open A-bomb, and it would be like an even trade. Even though, like, the Reader was clearly better, it's like an even trade because of how good Resist is, basically. And so what I brought up before, basically, is when you have a school like Ice with so much damage and Pierce with this amount of Resist and, like, health and utility on the cards, it's just KingsIsle simply overlooking how easy it is for Ice to play and the utility of it while giving it so much damage. So I would really like to see Resist be nerfed in a different way, because objectively Resist is the best stat in the game right now. Pierce is a close second, but Resist is just, it's crazy, bro. It's absolutely crazy, right? So I would suggest if you have 79 Resist, it would be 63 and then Pierce would go into that 63. So if I want to run 79 resist, okay, sure, right, whatever. But if I get trade and open hit, right, it'll actually be even, and it won't be one-sided because I have like 30 more resist than my opponent, right? But to put that 30 extra resist into perspective, that is literally like an ice can basically trade an open Shadowhorn with a buffed Grim Reader, and it'll scale and be even because the ice just has more resist. It's really stupid. So I would suggest swapping how the resist Pierce functionality works. I've been saying this for a while now. That would give the offensive schools the buff they need to quote-unquote play well, not just hit through shields like before. It just, you know, should come down to who trades better, and that's it. Not just who has 150 damage, 30 pierce, and 80 resist, right? Last thing I want to bring up is Zero Pip Tri Shields. Now, to my knowledge, this is the only thing in the game right now in terms of Shambo, Gambit, PvP, whatever the devs want to call it. It simply just doesn't follow the auto rules, right? You have a spell like a shield, which is already like a turn of tempo or 2 turns of tempo, whatever, right? Which is incredibly valuable, right? That is incredibly valuable, right? But with these tri-shields, they cover 3 different schools, and also you gain pips while doing this. Look at Elemental Blade. Look at the weakness gambits. They all take 2 turns of commitment, 4 pips, 2 pips to get that gambit set up. But you can do this in 2 rounds and just have so much tempo off of that. You can literally be getting your ass kicked as a death or a myth, but in 2 rounds, you can just shield twice and win the game. And that's stupid. There's no consequence to your actions, right? If I LA Blade and it gets Reshambled, oh crap. If I Spirit Shield and it gets Reshambled, I'll just do it again. I'm getting pips. I don't need to follow the rules, right? So I'd really like to see these be 1 pip, even if they want to buff them up a bit to compensate for that, like go back to 55%, but make it 1 pip to at least follow the audit rules. I would really like to see that because you just see that reflect in the leaderboards, really. So yeah, you can see over 50% of the first page is no, it's like 70%, isn't it? 70% of the first page is schools that don't follow the audit rules with their 0 pip tri-shields. Again, it is literally a free, quick setup with no repercussions at all, right, to do this, and it's clearly seen in the leaderboard here, right? If a myth starts playing bad, just set up the Jhin, you win, gain pips off of that. Same thing with the death, right? Same thing with an ice, but that's actually a Scion, so it's kind of like a little bit different, I guess, but the point is you just gain too much tempo with it, and it doesn't follow the rules. And it automatically makes it better than every other gambit in the game, right? Trap gambits, right? They're all blades, 1 pip, traps, 1 pip, weaknesses, 1 pip. I don't have a 3-fold on me right now, I don't think, but they're all 1 pip, and shields are just, you know, immensely valuable and overpowered, right? And they're also 0 pips. So I'd really like to see something happen to that. I wouldn't mind set shields staying the way it is, because I think it would take 3 or 4 set shields, 3 or 4 rounds, actually, to set up the gambit, not just shield gambit, right? There needs to be more room to outplay your opponent, and I just wish, you know, these things would simply follow the auto rules. But yeah, that's really all I gotta say, guys. I know it's gonna be more of a controversial video, but I feel like I needed to say it because I just wanted to highlight, you know, what didn't go good in 5th Age so far, and in 150, because it's been a lot of, you know, it's been a bumpy road, basically, and I thought I'd reflect on it and, you know, provide some criticism on, you know, what's all wrong. Even though I said I don't like healing and stuff like that, I'll still put it in the video because, you know, I'd like to speak for the community. But yeah, without further ado, I will see y'all in the next one. Thank you for being here, and as always, take care, guys.